Okay. If you get on, we'll see. Just make sure that you can hear me. We do have like a breakout section or breakout session audio. Oh my gosh, in my head, I'm hoping.
So, you want me to join?
Yeah. Make sure, because did you get one from Duval? Like a presenter one? Okay.
Oh, I didn't. Sorry.
I'm just looking at myself. See, it's gonna put you up. Can you like, oh, hey. And then we were to like come in a little bit, see if you can be.
I look like a different ethnicity from you.
Shut up. Are you trying to call me pale?
No, I'm just saying I'm never tan. So just
Just in 2 chairs.
2 places at once.
God, I'm sticking on your table here. You gotta get some nail polish or something like to. I'm sticking on your table.
It's fine to put this on separate.
Yeah, it's fine.
Because even if you like, here, look at me.
Right, we can still talk.
Yeah, you have to look that way to look like you're talking to me on the screen.
Should we change seats so that it's the same? Like,
You mean like you said? Yeah, I said.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took me a really long time to figure out what you were saying. This is why we rehearse. Oh my gosh, I'm in 2 places at once. This is why we rehearse. Rehearsal. I think we need to give a disclaimer that we've all.
well, I put in my, did you see introduction disclaimer? Now if we look.
Okay, wait.
No.
Yours
I know it's gonna do that. No, now I'm looking the right way, but now yours is still opposite. Dang it. Maybe you should just
Can
sit
you
across
switch?
from me. We'll just talk to the screens. Okay. Yes, there's a big disclaimer part. So I was gonna, for my disclaimer, I was gonna introduce us first and say, how many years, first of all, how many years have we been working together?
This is the start of our 5th.
No shit. Say that in the meeting. Oh, we also
Wait,
have
you
to make
can't say
sure.
no shit, or you can't say this is. I can't say that this is the start of our 5th.
No, I probably shouldn't say no shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sets the tone.
We have to record too, so we have to make sure we hit record. Gosh, there's like so many things we have to remember to do. Hit record. And what I was going to do, I was going to start our timer to keep us on pace because I think like we still want to leave the end for them to work. I put a sample calendar down in the comments section so that they can work and get onto the curriculum and things like that. But I have a 50-minute timer so that we can look down and see like how much time we have left.
Yeah.
So you can be like, start. Right, make sure it's off because I don't
So
want
what
my
is our
kids
disclaimer?
messaging. All right, there's multiple, Katie. I'm glad you asked. So our disclaimer is that first of all, we've only been through this one time. Like we're not professionals or anything. Like, and that's when I was going to bring in the different types. Like we are like, okay, let's jump in and try them and all that type of stuff type people.
Yeah.
So this is more for the other areas, like for people who need someone else to go and run into battle first.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll do on that. I'll like run into battle.
Why we don't? I just think we should just do a standard.
I know. Well, we're so much better together. Gosh, because if it's a screen, it's gonna be so hard for me. I got it from Target, like $10, or maybe yeah, it was Target. The kids kept changing my screen, and so Cruz thought that was better than having just one kid, but he didn't want all the kids on there. So it was him for a while. So, and then, so I was going to talk about the different styles that we only went through this once, and that by nature, like the whole point of this was so that they had time to actually like process and think about it and plan. It's not meant to be a podcast. It's not meant to be anything because like we are not.
We should do a podcast.
A podcast on like random ideas where we can argue.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should start a podcast. I'd probably get fired eventually. You probably would too.
I would definitely would. I get fired before you would.
Hmm.
You're tenured.
So
It died yesterday, so you can't see the like.
well, I got mine died too. Did you hear me? I said it took 4 hours. She did it
Yesterday?
the night before. So literally I am burning on both ends because I'm getting up. I'm starting to hear my voice. I was worried this morning. I was like, oh my gosh. It's because it's been all day things. So like Eli had his schedule pick up one night. I don't remember which night that was. And we walked his schedule several times. And then like I had my hair appointment. I didn't get home till 10:30 and went at 6. Like, and I had to cancel the cut because I was like, I don't have time. Like that was just for color. Okay. Well, it's just ladies, like she lives in our subdivision. She has a salon in her basement, but she's like incredibly meticulous. Like she was like with each foil, usually like they're like, she's like, she's OCD. So it has to be like perfect. But I mean, it was like a painting. I was like, just slap it on there. So and the kids even really like their haircuts. They're like, man, she gives a good haircut. She does. Like she does fades and all this stuff. And, like she's very meticulous. So, and I have a ton of hair. So it makes it difficult. But okay, so, and then last night, lo and behold, Eli had a barbecue, like North Middle barbecue, where they were supposed to meet the teachers. So I had to go to that. And I talked to all his teachers, so I was there late last night. Then tonight is the boys have football, and Isaac has his meet the teacher. Friday, Cruz has his kindergarten orientation. Lucas is supposed to start his school Monday, and I'm like, and we have our hours next week. It's like Thursday night. Our open
This
house.
is hours. I thought you said hours, like 1 through 7 hours.
Oh no, hours is in our open house.
My goal is to have the room completely.
I'm just gonna go get black paper for that wall because I did not stop and get it either, and I don't want to. Once school starts, I mean, I don't really actually work on the room anymore. It's like I have to do it before. So today my goal is room, first day plans. We'll see what that happens. I mean, I have like Amy started working on it, so
I need to talk to Joe today. So apparently,
should I talk to you like this? I should get used to talking to you through the camera.
that'll be great. Somebody will walk in and we'll be talking to each other through this screen.
And then yeah. Hi, Katie. How are you? Oh, we should use our professional presenter voices. Hey, turn your mute off so we can just make sure you can hear me and everything, okay? Can you hear me? I can hear you.
I don't have my sound on.
I told you. Oh, you should be able to turn it on.
I can. I just didn't.
Hello? There you go. Okay. Just making sure.
Okay, I'm back to muting.
So hello to our presenter voices.
Jesus. We should just start a recording like 10 minutes ago.
Right. Katie, you're so smart.
That's why they pay me so much money.
Katie, where are you at today? Your wall looks so similar to mine.
Apartment 407.
All right, we'll talk and then let's make sure we can hear you okay sitting there through I'm sure you can. Say something. I don't hear you on mine.
You do now? I muted myself.
Okay. Just making sure what's coming through my computer.
But if you turn your volume off really quick.
Hello.
No, turn your sound off.
I thought I did.
No, you muted yourself.
So what am I supposed to do?
Hit that F1 button. Okay, now talk.
Hello.
Hello. Perfect.
Okay, now on F1, F2. Hello. I don't even know what I just did. So for the breakout sessions, though, if anyone wants to work together, like we could still put them in that breakout session. Or we can break them out to talk about their leadership style or something at the beginning if we wanted to, but I don't have to. I don't know. I feel like I get flustered if there's too much going on the screen. And now I don't have the extra screen. So, okay, share your video. I said, so here's this, and I would just click share. You can go ahead and in the chats, we could put in the link to that. You don't really have to do
it. I don't think if it's put in there before someone joins, they don't see it when they join.
Well, I'll put it in so
That
just
I
keep
can put it in
copy
so
it.
that I have it, so I can copy it.
It's kind of weird that they can't see.
Okay, do you want to try sharing your screen so I can see what it looks like? Okay, this makes sense. If I look that way, I'm looking towards your thing on my computer.
Okay. Cool. But this is like, because now I'm in the corner and I'm not looking at you. And oh, there you are. Look, it says you're speaking.
Hello.
But you're not speaking.
It doesn't say I'm speaking.
On
I'm
mine,
the
it's-
only other person.
Oh, okay. So it's like, I hear you. I wonder if, see, this could be hard with one screen too. Tonight, see that? If those two things open, I'm gonna have to pee like 4 times. I don't like presenting in front of teachers. I know that's not the best thing for going into admin, but I'm assuming I'll get over it like I do with the students, because I don't really care what the students
I
think.
feel like you do better in person though.
I always do better in person, yeah. Get a little feed, or if you have the right like vibe. That last PD, we did not have the right vibe. Don't record
The very first one
that. Mm-hmm.
is good though.
It was fine, yeah. But I'm saying like he didn't. There's some negative energy from people who are just trying to work. Which I get it, because that's all we do. All right, I'm gonna go to the restroom.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Again. Judy B. Well, I mean, Judy B. Jones is like so many of the little girls I know. Judy B. Judy. Oh, this is your jacket. I have one similar. It's not that lightweight though. Right. Oh my goodness. I wonder who is moderating ours. If it's Candy. Shoot. Mhm. Right here. Hi. Oh, it is. Sherry should.
Okay.
Sherry should. She should, because last year I was able to, and I don't know if I still have those permissions or not. Like, I had them, I mean, they would have had to take me off. Like, so I don't know if I have those permissions, but it's relatively easy when you have the permissions and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Good. I was like, I just.
For your classes?
Yeah.
Oh,
Then I'm not always.
you're right.
You know what I mean?
Mhm. What I would do, like in my announcements, because I put like my daily activities up in announcements, and I would say like the 6th hour, due done 7th hour, and I would just have it like actually in the announcements as that. Mhm. They wouldn't know. Well, we have our announcements, like I stopped writing on the board, like today we will do it, and I just start putting it on the announcements and linking everything for the day. And so that way, if they missed a day, they could just click on that announcement and then everything was there. So like it's still organized in modules, but the announcements are right there.
I
So
agree.
it was nice. Said, yeah. Well, she should be able to do it.
Sounds good.
I think she might be teaching a professional development. Okay.
Oh my God.
I know she's intense. Well, and then here, I feel like we are totally like the Step Brothers like presentation, like you like sharing with our microphone, and then we're like, she and I are like trying to just look at each other on the screen.
Yeah.
They're like, our disclaimer is pretty much like, yeah, we only know a little bit, like not a lot, so don't ask too many questions. My people made us like speak and do things.
Speak and get in the breakout room, write a poem.
Right. That was fast. That was a lot really fast.
It was
No, not every, like you have to actually request like special settings. So like we have the ability to put people in breakout rooms on ours, but it's right. Right. Well, Brandon Whitmore was in my breakout and he's like, I'm gonna be honest, guys, I wasn't really paying attention. Where's this poem at? So I'm like, I'd rather just not know.
Man, I was about to Google what does
This poem mean.
I don't know.
But the lullaby of loss, that didn't remind you of If I Die Young?
I did.
And she said
Only because you're
the bruises from fists. So I'm thinking she was beat up and she had a miscarriage. You didn't find that? You didn't see that?
No.
Pretty sure she had a miscarriage. That was a stone because of abuse.
You got really deep with that.
No, I didn't. I
just
saw
said that,
lullaby
like,
of loss. Like
no.
it said the bruises from fist or something on it, and it said lullaby of loss. Why would you say lullaby of loss? Right, because you're a literal thinker, right? You're like,
Okay, I
it's a
still do that
song.
last night, I have no idea.
Right,
You gave me the directions to it, and I still don't know.
right. I told my son's math teacher last night.
Or when I was home teaching, tried to teach me things. Like, can you just
See,
I have to do the home teaching from the sped side.
I'm fine with the math. Like if I have a formula to follow, I'm not good with geometry. I can't do.
I can deal with
space.
algebra 1 first
But
semester.
science.
After first semester algebra 1 out.
Mm.
Which is pretty much how I was in high school. Well, anytime I have to support kids that are like, I need help with math. Like last year I blew
Oh my
up
God.
Melissa Van Hoozer's I was like, can I send a kid to you? Because it was her plan when I had support and it was always her kids that needed
So how do I
help.
get-
And I was like, yeah.
How do I
This
get
is
back to that
amazing.
big? Oh no! How do I get back to the big screen? I should just stop me. Right.
I'm like, I haven't looked at that since I was in that class, so I have literally no idea. No. Ugh. Bye.
Okay, so
Thanks.
why?
Actually, yeah, that would be great.
Probably.
Thank you.
Why? How do I go back to like it just? Oh, it's probably because I shared my screen. That's why.
So you have to stop sharing. Oh, I'm just gonna pull up the thing. So if I click on attendance, is there who's going to ours?
Can you see who's supposed to be there or where?
In attendance. Ooh.
Brett Graham, love him. Carrie Hayes.
I had her.
Like hi, Carrie Hayes. I don't see any meanies. All right, nice. I requested a cap at 20.
Just 25.
Oh, go up really quick. Well, you know,
She's nobody likes it.
she's just negative. Oh my God.
Are you serious? I'm muting him.
Dang it.
I'm marking him absent.
We shouldn't have looked at attendance.
Oh
my God. Better not share your screen, like your messages will pop up.
I'm marking him absent.
Right. out of my email. So going through, so don't let me forget to say add in the comments, like, because then we'll start and that will just kick off like who the presentation is mostly for. Oh, that's so sweet. That baby is pretty. I mean, it's so sweet.
Okay.
Don't look at my chicken scratch. You know how I
3
do.
4 years.
Okay,
Are you
5.
kidding me? We met my student teaching year.
I can't remember. Yeah, but how many years have we've been working?
This is my 5th year teaching.
So is
We're
this
about-
my
this is-
sixth? So this is my 6th year here or 7th? I don't know.
This is your 6th year here. Your
Okay.
first year here was my student teaching year, right? You and Sharon started the same year.
Mm-hmm.
This is your 6th year.
This is like people who can't remember their anniversary, which is totally me. Like Eric and I have to look. I look at my Facebook pictures like to find out my anniversary. I swear, because I don't recall. I know. I just yeah, his is September 11th though. So and I have all the kids' birthdays
What a
obviously. But,
cheerful day for him.
right. Right. Hmm. Yeah. So
You know,
I was
isn't
good to
it-
go.
It's funny though that the direction thing that you pointed out is literally people using those tools.
Right.
That's what's so funny.
Right.
I hate that you use blue.
I use whatever pen is available. Really? What do you have against blue?
Just
Really?
I don't know why. I just don't like
It's a weird thing to discover about you at this point in time.
I just don't like it.
He doesn't like blue pens. That could be, you know, like those interesting, like get to know you things, which I'm awful with. Like I hate those things. I mean, actually, I
It's a
started
good one actually for that.
right.
I like blue
I don't
pens.
well, and I
don't
can't
use them.
write in pencil. Like I physically cannot write in pencil. So what's funny is Eli was telling that to his ELA teacher. I was like, yeah, I was like, okay, I'm gonna be honest, it's both of us. I can't do it either. But he's the same way. Like, and even touching paper, like, and he doesn't have
Or
like,
when it-
but
when
he
it-
doesn't have like sensory issues with like other things, but to the feeling of paper, he'll get instant goosebumps all over his arm.
Jackie Lane, if she hears paper rip, she like breaks
Right.
out. She's
Isn't
like,
that crazy?
no.
So yeah, so he has to use erasable pen. And now it's kind of cool because middle school, they're very similar to us where they say like, well, if you want to type, type. If you want to do this, I don't care. Like, you know, so you have a little bit more freedom. But there's only 7 people in his ELA class and only 3 in his math. Because he's in the resource for those 2. Right. So I think that they try for 6th grade. If they're not sure, they put them in the resource and then they get to try out the CT. I don't know if he, we'll
We're gonna
see.
do it.
Because he really does have a, like inferencing. Whew. I mean, Isaac's on it, but Eli, like an inference, it's the same thing with Eric. It's like blank stares. They're like, okay, make an inference. And Isaac and I are like, it's so obvious. It's so obvious. You got it. You got it. You got it. And then Eli and Eric are like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I mean, I totally get different styles. I have to be careful talking about my kids though, because now like their friends are in class. And now they're gonna know everything I say about them. Story.
Sorry.
But
You have to
yeah.
tell Eli that-
I mean, I think I'll be more mindful, obviously, but
You really can't do it once he's here.
he wants to be in our class so bad, and I keep saying no. I mean, I don't even.
Is he in resource English right now?
Yeah,
So
English
he
and
might
math.
be- I mean, if that's where he thrives, then maybe he'll be with me.
Mhm. Yeah, that would be good.
So now I'm stuck here until Cruz is on. No, until Lucas is done.
Mhm. That would be preferable.
You're so proud of me. I'm really growing as a person. I'm really proud of myself.
I am proud of you.
So Tony and I had a pretty intense argument a couple weeks ago. And my article is Tony hooked up real bad and I called him out on it and it was really bad.
I probably should mute us. Hi, guys. I'm unmuting. We're taking attendance, so we're just waiting a few minutes and trying to mark everybody off. Let me see, Bianca, Brett. I'm actually in the room with Katie. She's right here. So. Julia, I see you. Can you give me a thumbs up that you can hear me? Okay, cool. No, we'd have to unmute you, I think. Julia, can you talk? Okay,
Yeah,
you
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were told in the other meetings that if for some reason, if I like unmute you to speak, if you're docked, you can't actually hear you. So if you're joining like the conversation, you have to undock for us to be able to hear you. Oh. Just another minute. How are we doing on attendance? Got some of my favorite people. Hi, Donna. Second unmute. Second.
Emailed you. My printer isn't working. When I need to print, I've been going to the library. So, yeah.
I was gonna unmute you all, but then you weren't ready for that. So I'm gonna unmute you all now so that you guys can say hi to each other. Jamie did a great job earlier.
Hi, thanks.
Steve kind of was saying like, ooh, I like her. She's it's like so dynamic.
I think that you're clear for like 8 months or something like that. Like, I think that there's a window. Mhm.
Abby Hall, I can hear you talking. I don't think you're talking to us.
I'll mute her. Hi, Kristen. Hi, Kristen.
Hi.
Stephanie. Hi. We're not talking to ourselves. Katie and I are in the same room. She's right here next to me. Just figured it was easier than like talking to a wall. Not that you guys are a wall, but we didn't know if we'd have black screens, which is what I guess initially it was supposed to be. So that made me a little bit nervous. I was like, I'd rather have someone and talk to someone. So, all right, how are we on attendance? Okay.
Hi, Kevin.
I kept it, so we should only have 20.
But we can also like start and I can just.
Okay, we are going to go ahead and start, and then I think we are just waiting for a few more to log on. So let me share my screen here. Share. Up at the top. So I'm Faith Hollinger. This is Katie Harding. We teach together at North High. We've been teaching together. Apparently it's been 5 years. I said in my notes like 3 to 4, and she got mad at me because it's been 5 years and I'm just bad with remembering anniversaries and dates and all that stuff. So it has been 5 years. So we're pretty comfortable together and we've been doing this a while together. And so we enjoy each other's company, which hopefully you'll see. We play off each other pretty well, which is why we try to do all of our professional developments together. I'm going to pull this up. So I wanted to start, if you are you copying and pasting the slideshow? So Katie's going to copy and paste the slideshow into the chat so you can jump on. It does have links because the biggest thing is I promised you guys like ready to use resources. And so I really didn't want to break that promise. So it does have links to some ready to use resources for you to use if you need them. But I do want to start with a quick disclaimer. A couple disclaimers. First of all, as far as this blending classic and contemporary text together, we've only gone through this like one round. We are by no means like the experts. It was just, we were the ones that did it. So Candy says, you guys can present on that. So we don't have the answers to all of your questions. We just happen to be people that kind of jump into things. And so with that being said, I wanted to show you guys this, just a second. Keeps trying to, can't go over it. Just go through it this way. Okay, this is a leadership compass, like it kind of identifies where you fall or what kind of leader you are. And so I am a North. Like if you had to place me on this, I am not afraid of things. I jump right in. I don't worry about it. And Katie, luckily, is kind of like that as well. So when we were starting to see some issues and stuff, like we jumped right in. We had no problems with that. But when we were talking to some other people in our PLCs, we did have different people with much different styles. We had our East people. It sounds like I'm talking to different schools, but I'm actually talking about leadership styles. We had our East people, and they like to understand the big picture. So I went to like Amy Chamberlain, my good friend. She is an East person, and she's like, okay, so you have this idea of blending choice novels with the curriculum text. What does that look like? What's the end game? And I was like, well, I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. I just had an idea. And she kind of worked with me and like we pasted together. Then you have like your South people who are going to be very caring. They just want to make sure they're doing what everyone's doing and everyone's happy and everyone's like satisfied. And you have your West people who are the ones who want to know like everything up front. They want to know who, what, when, where, why. And for like a North person like myself, I'd be like, wait a minute, we haven't figured that out yet. We'll get that we'll get there when we get there. So what I'd like you guys to start out by doing is just putting like, what type of person are you? Are you a North, East, South, West? And that gives me a little bit of idea who I'm talking to and how much you might need from me. So just add that to the chat if you don't mind. Nope, I don't want that.
Steve said Northeast.
North, well, that's okay. I think when I actually initially picked one of these, I did pick that. Yeah, you got to tell me what people are saying.
We've got Southwest, East, West.
Southwest, East, West. Nobody's like fully willing to commit to one simple thing. It's funny. Okay, so my West people, this really is for all of those like that need more information and need a place to start and need to hear from someone who has already gone through the process. Another disclaimer that I had for you is that when I told Candy, I was like, well, what do you actually want me to show people? She's like, I just want you to show like what you did, the steps. And then I was like, okay, well, that's fine. The second part of it, we'll make sure that they can actually get into the curriculum and take some time for planning. We were going to like split you guys up in different groups, and then they switched it to virtual. So at the end of this, like I could put you in groups with other people. I don't know how effective it's going to be. It's one of those things that sometimes you just have to sit with yourself. But at the end of this, we are going to give you guys time to work and to like ask questions while you work or do what you need to do, or I mean, sit there and pretend like you're working. I don't know. It's kind of really up to you. So, but we did plan that time in because we didn't want to just fill up it like with a bunch of fluff and like take up your time and add a bunch of stuff that wasn't really necessary to it. So did you have anything to add? Okay, let's go on. So I have my disclaimer in there. We are not experts. All right. So let's start with the why. And I think that everybody who understands kind of the world culture right now understands the why a bit. We are so torn with what people want from us, and it's really hard to balance like all of these expectations, all these like different opinions, even within the classroom, with what we want to do for our students. And what we want to do for our students, we really want to make sure that they are talking and they're able to connect to the text. We want them to be able to connect to each other. We want them reading. We want all of these things. So it's really hard to make sure that is happening without offending someone or upsetting another person. And so really like this came from the idea of like adding the choice novels into the curriculum text came from just me being like, wait a minute, why am I putting so much pressure on myself? There's a easy answer to all of this. It's like sometimes the easiest answer is the best one. And there is an easy answer to all of this. And that's why like we started incorporating more choice into everything. So the choice would be, okay, now let's look at some of these curriculum novels and what are the themes of them and what kind of text can we bring into that? So, and I'm going to talk about like why it actually, we weren't initially sure if it was going to be successful or not. Like we had our minds very open. We're like, okay, we'll just try it and we will see what happens. So, and we did find we had very successful results. Kids really enjoyed it. Some things that I found were that they picked, it was pretty evenly split between curriculum and choice novels. We talked a lot about like if you're college bound and you want to make sure you're reading that curriculum text, here are some things that most people have read or that might be helpful for college. And so we had Of Mice and Men as one of the choices and To Kill a Mockingbird as one of the choices. And then we had a bunch of actual choice novels that had the same theme. So I'll talk about that in a second. But are you recording?
Sorry, we forgot to hit record.
Dang it. Oh, no, it says recording. Okay. It says recording for 46 minutes. Yeah, I was just like, awesome. We had a whole conversation before you guys got on. So Candy did want me to add this because even though this is very much Candy approved, like Candy likes the idea of choice, we're being proactive versus reactive. She wants you to make sure that you are talking to your administrator, and especially like when you're sending stuff out to the parents, like you need to make sure that the language is right. We are in a very chaotic time and sensitive time. And so you have to make sure your wording to everything is right. So talk to your administrator, make sure that before moving on, like you have their permission or you're checking in with them to let them know what you're doing. Okay. So this is the main thing Candy wanted me to show you, just kind of our steps and what we did as a PLC. Katie and I are in the same English 1 PLC. We have Amy Chamberlain's in that PLC, and I feel the need to like say Amy, Kristen, because anything that we came up with, it was really done as a group, as a team effort. And we are very kind of eclectic thinkers, and we just sometimes, like when we brainstorm, we just jot a bunch of ideas down, which is like what you're going to see in that link. So after admin approval, really you just need to start brainstorming some possible ideas of how to put this into a unit. So with us, it was the unit prefacing To Kill a Mockingbird. You have empathy and respect. We have a bunch of texts that go into that. And so we had to stop and look at, okay, what do we actually want? How could this look? And for us, this was during EOC time. So everything was a little bit chaotic anyways. The schedules were a little chaotic. So it kind of lent itself for some choice novels or that type of activity, because we could say, okay, you guys are reading and then you're reading on this day, and it was a little bit easier. So our brainstorming, again, it was just like, okay, let's get a document together, start linking stuff, and let's start making some sense of it. After that, we went to, or actually that was kind of simultaneously with that, we went to the curriculum and we started looking at like what curriculum text could be very easily opened up to choice novels. Because everybody in here has probably taught lit circles. So you've taught different books and you know what a lit circle is. But with this, the main difference is that you still have to hit those standards that they have in the curriculum. So a lot of those curriculum documents and those like activities still need to be addressed. And that can be a little overwhelming for people, especially like my West people who need to know everything. It's like, wait a minute, how am I going to do this with that? And so if you're looking in the document, we're on this review curriculum here. If you're looking in here and you go to the slide 6, you can click on some of these different lessons. I just went into the curriculum and clicked and picked like one activity from each of them. Like this one, we've actually done a really good job leaving things open. So this one's talking about organization, structure, writing style, and all of that of the book. And this is specific to like Anthem and Of Mice and Men, but because it's already for 2 novels, it's very easy to actually incorporate both. Okay. And you can go ahead and click on the other ones if you want to look at those. Like it's simple adjustments. This Gatsby presentation is all about history. Like if you were doing a choice novel, you know, they could still do a presentation about like the context of that novel very easily. It would not be that hard to adapt that. So here. I put this at the bottom. Nope. Oh. I don't like that that's at the top. I feel like I can't just click on things. Did you have anything to add to that?
We just, it's kind of the second part on the roadmap, but when we were brainstorming and talking about different complications, I am the special ed teacher in the room. So my job is to support primarily the kids on IEPs, but Faith and I typically group our students that have a D or an F or maybe are unmotivated, or we get a lot of the ESOL students in there. And so at the beginning, it was important to kind of help find books to guide them either in a more black and white route or just something that's more accessible to them. So that's, if you're a special educator, that is the very, very beginning of that is where I did that process.
So once we realized what text that we were all going to do, what text we could agree on, that every student was going to cover this material or cover this stuff in the curriculum, we went in as a group and we created a calendar. And if you guys click on this link here, you guys can see the calendar. This is just a sample. That was one of those things that Candy really wanted you guys to see. For if you just need to see how it's laid out, like this would be a sample calendar. And so I went in with some blank ones, and I think in the presentation, I actually linked like a blank calendar, because in the actual presentation, you guys were going to be able to like jot down ideas like, okay, how could we make this work? If I was using this for Lord of the Flies or Gatsby, you know, what could this actually look like? So in this calendar, like we decided the first week we were going to introduce the unit, and this is where we really covered some curriculum text. You have shame in there, different things, and we've added some of our own that kids really like. Trifles, if you've ever heard trifles, like our students actually like trifles. I know not everyone does, but our students actually seem to do really well with that. And so that was all dedicated to like introducing the unit, getting kids talking. You can see this transplant activity here. And that's one, like our goal for that was getting kids to understand that we automatically connect to other people who are like us. Like the whole activity is who gets the transplant. You get a list of like 5 people, and kids have to argue like the order of which like someone would actually receive that transplant. And so you'll hear kids talking and they will say things like, oh no, she's a mom, she's this, or look at him, he's so successful. And so at the end of it, we're like, okay, so you connected with people who you understood, you know, so by nature, we are subjective, not objective all the time. And that's how we kind of like leaned into the court system when you're going to be talking about it, normally Tom Robinson, and To Kill a Mockingbird. And so like why, you know, some people or the justice system could be sway one way or another like that. So, and then we started talking, we focused really on poverty. And so we had this day in the life of the working poor. Again, all of this stuff is linked. I stopped linking it towards the end, but I wanted you guys to see some of those activities. And so we decided that like by the Friday, books were going to be due, and we would start on this next week. So from there, I can I have to go back to my list, but that's available so you can actually see that. So after we created a tentative calendar and we knew when the kids were going to get books, we knew how much time they had, we knew the focus of each week, because we decided like 1 week we'd focus on theme, 1 week we'd focus on symbolism, I don't remember, 1 week we'd focus on, what else did we focus on? I know the theme, symbols, motifs,
Setting,
point of view.
Historical
Yeah.
lens.
Yeah, so we actually picked a topic to focus on, like theme, but then also a genre of writing. So it was like theme, and for this we'll do the argument. The next one was like symbol, and for this we'll do the narrative writing. So we had a little focus for each week, and that's just in our brainstorming, like what we wanted to do. We decided we wanted to have those different focuses, and then at the end we wanted it to all come together somehow. We actually ran out of time because of EOC testing, so we ended up with a Socratic that kind of brought everything together, but hopefully you wouldn't run out of time. Like it was pretty crazy during EOC testing. So with our schedule in mind, I contacted the librarian, and I mean, I'm sure everyone has great librarians, but Carolyn Schulte is ours, and she is an amazing resource. And I said, okay, here is our unit. It's empathy and respect. You have To Kill a Mockingbird is the curriculum text. Here are some different things you see in that. What I need is books from the library that fit and connect into this theme. And so she actually like put together a bunch of books on a cart. She checked them all out to me. They were all in my name, and she wheeled them in here. And so kids were able to like kind of peruse, look at some of these novels. And then if they wanted to check it out, they would just take it off the shelf and walk to the library, and she'd switch it from my name to their name. One thing she did over the summer to help us for this is we actually took the curriculum. This is another one of those ready to use resources that we have for you. she took the curriculum novels from, well, I think I made the template, and then I asked her to like start plugging some stuff in. So it hit like right down here is English 1. We have a Mice and Men, Anthem, English 1, To Kill a Mockingbird, English 2 is Lord of the Flies, The Great Gatsby. And then she started plugging in some novels that she could find that had the same theme, but were either fiction or nonfiction. And she put them in the fiction or nonfiction category. It shows how many pages they are. And then it also shows the reading level of it. So that's kind of like one of those other benefits of this style is we can really cater individually to our students. And Katie and I do a lot of differentiation within the class. And so we really want we want to meet kids where they are. So we would look at the specific books and we would look at their level. And sometimes if they picked one that was too simple, that was really high interest, like that would be okay if it had a lot of ideas in it. But if it was too simple, like, and just really not at their level, we might push them to something more complex and show them like some different options. But kids did a really good job picking. I'm going to stop for a second. Does anyone have any questions? Because I know I'm going fast. Like I said, I wanted to save a good chunk to give you guys that time at the end to work and ask questions if you need it. I know PD is like so much being thrown at you, and I really want you guys to have time to sit down and actually do something with some of the stuff we're talking about if you want to. So any questions, just put them in the comment section.
I did put, so the link that Faith has on the Google Slides presentation that you got a copy of does not have the calendar that I modified for a resource room. And so disclaimer, I did not do this with my resource kits last year because it was a little too much to throw at them at one time, but I plan to do it this year, and that's kind of a mock calendar that I'll follow. So I use a lot of the same text, but I don't, oh, yeah, Kristen, I'll send it right now.
Thank you.
And so there is, sorry, I'm not bad at multitasking. Okay, there you go, Kristen. I still use a lot of the same curriculum texts, but I don't use all of them. Trifles is a little long for my resource kids just because their attention span, the fight wouldn't be worth what they might or might not get out of it. So, but that's there if anybody wants it.
Okay. So I can see my parents coming. Yes. So you asked if I have kids pick it first. No, I actually, in my roadmap, it's kind of, I'm showing them the books, but simultaneously, it's funny because it's not like one really happens after the other. I'm kind of doing it all at the same time, but I do send out a letter to parents, and this is really, really helpful. Again, in today's world, it seems like people are just asking for transparency. They want to know what's going on. And so for this, I sent out an email and I said, okay, the same thing I put in your guys' description, like people are looking for different things from education. Some want this, some want that. And so at this point, like, here are the curriculum novels, here's the unit. And if you want them to read a curriculum novel, like that's automatically what they're going to have. If you give them permission to choose their own novel, then they can pick from like anything in the library or whatnot. But really, we require their permission to read anything outside of the curriculum. And so you can see there's a Google form. I don't know if you can make a copy of that. If not, like we can, if you want the Google form that was sent to parents, I could actually like send that to you. I'll say this was my results. I had everyone that turned it in, 100% said that their child had autonomy to select the novel connecting to the unit, and I trust them to use their best judgment. So with that being said, like the pressure was off me. If they wanted, and I think it said even in the letter maybe, or it was either the Google form or the letter, if they wanted to read and approve it, they had to like let me know. And so I really tried to put the ball in their court and say, okay, you guys, if you want, like your kids, if you wanted to like pick something, if you want to have say in what they're reading, like here's your opportunity. Otherwise they would read the curriculum text that was required. Or you have to let them pick it and select that you give them autonomy for that. So, and like I said, 100% of people did give their kids autonomy. And in the Google form, I also had a spot that asked, it's up here and I'm covering it. Is there anything else you'd like me to consider in helping your child find the right book for them? For example, would you rather your child be exposed to a classic or read something more current? Does your child do better with fiction than nonfiction? And it's really, it's interesting because as a parent, and I'm sure I have parents out there too, but you know your kids, and so much of the time it's so helpful. Like if we could just get some of that feedback. And so parents were very vocal. They, like a lot of parents actually said they wanted them to read To Kill a Mockingbird because they wanted to have that connection with them. But they said, if they don't want to, like, I'm going to leave it with them for the most part. No one actually said like, my kid has to read this. So you can see like classics are a great choice. One said, please just pick, like, make sure this kid picks something with audio as well, which was helpful. And then there was one person that said that they wanted to know so that they could read at home, like along with them. So really, I mean, I felt like I got some good feedback prior to helping that kid kind of pick their novel. And if they didn't like to read, that they might go for the shorter one. One of those West type people were saying that was really worrisome for them was, oh my gosh, like these books are such different lengths. What do we do? And I think if you have had lit circles, you kind of always run into that. So you know that there can be an issue with that when you have different lengths. What my response was like, kids also read at really different paces in general. So you're always going to have that. If you're reading To Kill a Mockingbird, you're going to have a kid who's done in 2 weeks, and then the kid who would need like a month and a half to finish that. So really, like by allowing them choice, you can really help them differentiate and pick something that they could finish in that time. In this case, I think they had like 3 weeks to read, 3.5 weeks to read, something like that. It wasn't a really, really long time. So it was, if you cannot read that in this time period, then like don't pick that book. But if you are just going to like pick, say, of Mice and Men, because you can get it done in week 1, like that's not going to work either, because you also have to be reading during the time that's like specified in class. So you would be grabbing another book off the shelf, or I even opened it up to podcasts, something that's still connected to that unit. And you would have to continue to use that time to kind of expose yourself to the different literature, to different things connected to that unit. And so that actually did not become a problem. Some kids that fell behind, we had several strategies to catch them up, like with To Kill a Mockingbird. A couple kids did fall behind because initially that first 10 chapters is incredibly slow. And so, we had the abridged version. If like a kid fell behind in the group, like here's the abridged, and they might use that to catch up. We had audiobooks for To Kill a Mockingbird, audiobooks for Of Mice and Men. Katie, since they kind of set a calendar, which is the next step I'll show you, but we knew where they were supposed to be. So if they were falling behind, Katie might take them and just play the audio. So we had a lot of differentiation. We also had an A+ tutor in our school. Like that's one thing that we're kind of trying out. We've paired the A+ tutors with English 1 classes. So if a kid was falling behind, they can go and sit out with the A+ tutor, and the A+ tutor might be able to read to them. So it was just a lot of differentiation, a lot of support kind of built in. And with that, we were pretty easily able to keep everybody in the same place and moving in the same direction and able to finish at the right time. So any questions about that before I move on? Yep. Okay. So I had that communicate. Now here is, and I'm got to give a shout out to Kristen, because Kristen was the one who made this for us. I modified it a little bit just to make it shorter here, but once the kids picked out their books, we decided from there how we were going to actually put them in groups. And so if they were reading To Kill a Mockingbird, we did actually put them in the same group with To Kill a Mockingbird people. If they were reading Of Mice and Men, we put them in the same group. Then there was a whole group of just choice. It was like our eclectic group, and they were in their own lit circle group. Once they were assigned to their groups, they took this calendar, and I said, okay, I'm going to give you 20 minutes on these days here. You won't have reading time. I'm like, I kind of gave them a little bit of idea. I'm going to have a mini lesson on this day. We're going to have a discussion on this day, but you'll get at least 20 minutes to read every day is kind of what I guaranteed them. I think it says 25, but like thinking back, I think we only gave them 20 minutes a day. If we had more time, or if they finished early, they would pick up their book and use that time to read.
Yeah, it was pretty fluid.
Yeah, it was so. But the kids in the groups would decide, okay, guys, our book is 300 pages. How much do we need to read in a week, in a day? And so they set their own pacing guide. Again, they were really great with this. I've always, when kids have set their own pacing guides, I've always done it second semester. And I've always said like, okay, they're mature enough now. They might be mature enough first semester. I don't know. Like I've just always done that second semester. So, but they jumped on, and that was like another benefit of the choice. We really didn't have to sell anything because they were picking their own book. They were really on our side the whole time. So it was like, okay, we'll do this. Oh yeah, I have to read 100 pages a week. Got it. Like I picked my book. I picked one that was that length. And so they were okay with that. Kristen had then created some questions down at the bottom that they had this while they were reading, even though we were doing like different activities. This was more just to focus them, to see if they're comprehending some things. And then it was like meant for their Socratic to like go into their Socratic seminar at the end of this. Another thing that I put like notes of things to mention. There's some control you have to give up for this, because the kids who are reading To Kill a Mockingbird, like they would say something sometimes, you're like, that's not actually what happened. And like, you know, like the comprehension wasn't there. And since you can't really build in as many comprehension checks, like sometimes you would have to really make sure you were listening to those group discussions. And then I would use that time to clarify, like, oh, no, maybe you misunderstood this. Like, here's like how this kind of happened, or maybe you want to go back and look at Spark Notes and read something like to kind of clarify. It just seems like you missed some things there. So the group discussions were really helpful in checking for comprehension, because we could actually listen to them talk, and we were able to hear what they were picking out of their books and some of that stuff. So, but I did really like them having something to look at, and then it being done so that they could have that Socratic at the end. So really, like, those were the steps we followed. It wasn't hard. We did find kids liked it. I got this little picture here. I don't know. I thought it was so sweet, like seeing them all out there reading and enjoying their books and seeing it all kind of together. So I snapped a couple of pictures at the time. I'm going to unmute you guys for a second. Or at least I'm going to try to, and I got to figure, I have to stop sharing my screen to do that. Stop sharing. So I'm going to unmute you guys. And then I just want to know, are there any questions about any of those steps? Does that make sense? Like how you could actually do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So my West people, my West side, like, I mean, the who, what, when, where, why, like I said, everybody can modify it for their own. I did put a link into an empty calendar. That's what I said. If you want to use this 20 minutes to like kind of brainstorm, if you want to do this for Of Mice and Men or whatever your first unit is, like it's perfectly like acceptable. But I wanted you guys to have that time and that resource. And like I said, Katie and I are just going to sit here. So if you guys have any questions for us on how you could possibly do something, then we'll be here to do that with you. So I promised you time. So you guys have 20 minutes. And if you want to work with someone else, we can even put you in breakout sessions for that. So all you got to do is let us know what you want, and then we'll go from there.
One thing that I did not say that I made sure of for our CT class, and then for sure for resource classes, whatever, my resource class will only get 2 or 3 options. The librarian's not going to bring in a cart. I'll coordinate to get smaller class copies of other books. But I made sure that any of the books that those kids might be reading had access to an audiobook, because that at least I can pull that up and see how much time that will take them throughout 4 weeks and how much they need to listen to a day. And I had a few that argued and didn't want to do the audiobook. And then a weekend they were like, maybe I should do the audiobook, because they were on page like 9. So, but that was something that I didn't do right at the beginning that I wished I would have done, because we ran into a couple issues where we found some audiobooks, but they were really crappy. So,
yep. I mean, and I was going to say another thing that I did find is with our Socratics, it was actually really cool to have the blend, because we weren't giving them the questions, you know, like we would get them started with Socratics, but then they created their own thick questions. And it was cool when they could take their own books, you know, you have your person reading To Kill a Mockingbird. And then on the far end of the spectrum, I have the kid who was like, ooh, what book is causing a stir? And like Dear Martin, like, ooh, that's causing stir. I want to read that one. And his parents had given him approval, so he was reading that one. And then they were able to talk about different time periods, the difference between how an issue was portrayed in fiction versus nonfiction. They just had a lot to talk about and a lot of different connections that they can make between those different stories. So it was really cool. It was really cool. And I felt like they got a lot out of it. I asked them at the end, they all said that they preferred that. So I don't know if you could always do it, you know, like sometimes, well, it might get repetitive if you're like, okay, do this, you know, again and again. So, but it is definitely a tool, and given everything going on in the world right now, I think anytime you add choice and you put that ball in the parents', you know, court, it helps you and protects you as a teacher a little bit. So without doing a disservice to our kids, because we got to make sure that our kids are reading and interested, and, you know, and that we're doing everything we need to do for them. So
Can I jump in?
yeah.
All right, so I do this at West, as I was saying in the chat there. And I have found that, so I had 50% of my students last year, each unit choose to do the choice novel and then get permission of it. And then the other half just read whatever book it was. And this is for American Lit. And sometimes it is hard for kids to get books because they all want to read the same book. And so I put the onus entirely on the kids. I say, like, hey, if you want to do this, it's your responsibility to track down this book. Here are all the places that you can do it. And so when I break out the assignment for them, I'm like, all right, you can go to our school library, and I provide them with a link to to the library's catalog so they can check with it. Our librarians have been really good about helping kids by getting them from the public library for them or from other school libraries if they need them. I've also told the kids that if they're a St. Charles County resident, they can get a library card, not only for St. Charles County, but St. Louis County libraries. So
I think also they said that somehow through the school we have access to, Carrie, you're shaking your head. So I heard something about that we now all of our students actually have access to
Yeah, so they have all that, and then they have all of those like electronic places that they can read them now. Like they can read them on Soar, they can read them on Hoopla, they can read them on. There's like 4 or 5 that we have access to just as St. Charles County residents that they could find the book electronically or on an audiobook. But I've found that most kids, when they choose that they want to read a book, if they can't find it, they'll just tell their parents, and their parents will buy it for them.
Right. Right. Most kids, definitely not all, but a lot of them.
They get the book that they want to read, and like that's the thing. But it makes a major difference on their engagement. Right.
Absolutely.
So if you say, hey, everybody has to read this To Kill a Mockingbird, and you get a bunch of eye rolls, it's like, all right, let's flip that then. What can we do to help you so that you're going to actually be invested in the class? And then you have kids that like are privately messaging you, during class to say like, this book is so good. Have you read the sequel or whatever? And it's like I had a girl that like didn't read. And then last year she read Dear Martin, and like
that's the same one we kept hearing kids talk about too. Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with her reading anything for the rest of the school year.
We had a kid that read Dear Martin, and he's like, I just feel like my heart is going up and down, up. And he's like, I'm stressed. And then we were able to have that conversation, like, hey, this is really controversial in some other areas. Like, do you think that should be something that would be mandated or like read curriculum wide? And, it was interesting conversations. But Kevin, I wanted to say that document that had the different things that could follow, the different novels that can fall under a theme, that's an open document. And anybody can add, like if you have a great book that would have similar themes as To Kill a Mockingbird, Lord of the Flies, or any of those other curriculum texts, you can plug those in there just so that the librarians already have them, like other teachers already have those. And that's just a starting place. Like Carolyn, our librarian, brought in probably 100 different books for kids to choose from. So, but like I said, half of ours chose curriculum novels. So I would say there still would be plenty to go around, even if they wheeled that from one room to another. I don't think that we'd have any problems getting kids like a diverse collection. But I agree with you that sometimes like Dear Martin is one of those that kids are like, ooh, you should read this. And then when they're talking in class, other kids are like, wait a minute, I want to read that book. And so it's really cool to get them having those conversations and kind of spreading the word about different books and getting other kids interested about books.
Another thing that I've done is, since we have our budget money every year, is that I just started buying like random copies of the books that I'm going to use, this year I got like 15 new books, just new copies of books that I have that I offer. And so if the kids are having a hard time, I'm like, hey, you know what, draw your name out of a hat. You get my copy, of whatever this book is. So
yeah. Kristen also, Kristen hates being called out, just so you know, but Kristen did this with us. And so I was laughing at her for joining in. I was like, why are you on this? Like you did this. She goes, yeah, but I wasn't as good. Like, I don't know. I didn't feel as confident. So, but with what you did, Kristen, you felt, were students pretty receptive?
Sorry. Yeah, I think so. I think when they have a choice in it, they're more, and they had time to read in class. And if you give them the time, and I think their reading schedule helps a lot. And
do you think you missed any of the stuff with the curriculum? That you lost anything in the curriculum, or do you feel like you were still able to hit all those standards pretty easily?
No, I think the standards are still, especially week by week, having like a certain topic you're going over, and like kind of specifying to theme,
Mhm.
symbolism, you're still able to hit those things. And like the comprehension part is hard, like not teaching To Kill a Mockingbird and teaching the specific themes within it, but you can still kind of hit on them within itself. And like I was surprised by the amount that kids picked up just like talking in their groups and talking to
Right.
each other.
Well, in some curriculum novel or curriculum documents, I used as is, like, and I just used To Kill a Mockingbird as an example. So we still analyzed Atticus's speech as a class. I just gave them like context. So we still worked with rhetoric with that. I think like towards the end of the semester. So like we still use some of those, but I thought they were pretty, all the curriculum documents that we went to were pretty easily modified. Did you find that, Kristen?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and there is a lot you could still do with all of their books. Like, I don't know if anyone's familiar with like the universe of obligation. That's something that like I really like with To Kill a Mockingbird is talking about like who is inside this universe of obligation. I was able to do it with all of the books. They were all able to still like kind of figure that out, even if they're not looking at the same book. And I could go around and check and kind of see where they are. Even if I didn't read the book myself, I could still follow along with them.
Well,
So it
and
was
I know
good.
when we went into perspective, like we were talking about the childhood perspective and what does that add? And so we're still using To Kill a Mockingbird as example, but then they compared it like with the other books, like, okay, if this is the perspective of, or the point of view of To Kill a Mockingbird, what's yours? And then Kevin, this actually reminds me of you because I would always say, well, why not do the child perspective? Kevin's a big one with the why not. And I stole that from him before. You know, like a lot of times when you ask kids like, why not this, then they'll have some deeper conversations. So you know, usually if you're teaching all one book and you're talking about the point of view, everyone kind of repeats the same answer. But when you're comparing and you're saying, well, why not use that child's point of view? Why use third person omniscient or why use this? And kids had, I mean, I felt like they actually picked up on that quicker because they were comparing and having those out loud conversations. So that was something I actually thought was better with that. And I mean, I thought a lot.
I would think you guys are talking a lot about comprehension too, and how that might be like a struggle with, you know, you want the kids to get one thing out of reading To Kill a Mockingbird, you want them to comprehend it. That was one of the hardest lessons that I had to kind of like get over myself, right? So I had to like remove myself from the equation, right? You don't, when we're talking about comprehension, like we don't even need to be involved in the story. Like it's for our kids, when you, especially when you're doing choice, it's like the whole idea is that it's comprehension is the sort of intersection of everything that they're bringing from their own personal iceberg and then the reader's attention and like where those things just happen to meet, right? So like you could have every kid in the class reading the same book and they're not going to have the same interpretation of what's going on in that book. And so when we're like talking about comprehension, historically, it's like we're saying like, well, you just, as a teacher, you're trying to get them to understand your comprehension of the book. Well, you just kind of remove yourself from the equation, and then you just ask those open-ended questions like Floyd was saying at the beginning, and you can kind of gauge where they're at with their comprehension of what they're reading.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, I mean, if you are operating with like a flipped classroom anyways, like that's something you probably had to get used to anyways. Like you're not going to always, kids aren't going to have like go over or determine or figure out everything that you wanted them to. But they will get to a lot more themselves than you would actually expect. And so I think if you're comfortable with that flipped classroom, that you're probably okay with that. Some people, if you're up in front of the room all the time and you're used to that control, it's probably more difficult for you and with your teaching style. So again, those resources are there. If you guys have any questions, let me know. This is your work time. This is your time to ask questions. Does anyone else have any questions, comments, concerns? Nope.
Actually, I do. So what I'm wanting to do is to kind of do a hybrid between the curriculum and choice, so that the students would still, like, they all have to get a choice, you know, novel, but to do that for, again, you have 15 minutes that we're going to be reading in class, and then we'll still be doing you know, Great Gatsby or whatever it is, and then you'll be talking about the connections that you can make thematically and, you know, with conflicts and problems and things like that between the choice novels they're having and still what we're doing with the curriculum. So I'm trying to, I guess, determine what that's going to look like, or how I can, again, blend these two concepts together, or if I'm making it more complicated and I just need to choose one or the other.
So.
Are you in a gen ed class or advanced?
Gen Ed and CT, sorry.
Okay.
So.
I
last
stay away
year-
from advanced people.
Me too.
Last year, so at the same time Faith and I were doing this in our CT class, I had my resource class, and beginning of the year, I did not read a novel with my resource kids because they were already overwhelmed with missing the 8th grade like every other kid, but resource kids felt that I think maybe a little bit harder. And so when we got to this part, I had them read Of Mice and Men, and then I showed them the To Kill a Mockingbird film, and then we read like Atticus's closing remark, and then we read a few other things that had from Scout's perspective, just to try to get them to bridge those two novels together in some way, shape, or form. So I don't know if it's a possibility. Maybe you read a couple chapters of Great Gatsby, but then you show the film and that covers a couple chapters, and then you go back and forth between the two. I don't know if that would work or if that's even answering your question, but it worked well with
Your resource.
my resource kids, and they got way more out of To Kill a Mockingbird, like what you want them to get out of it by watching the film, than they ever would have reading it. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but that is a way that I kind of did it last year.
That does help, and I think again for anything that's in the curriculum, there is a film for it, so it wouldn't be difficult to do that. But again, especially with those CT classes, wanting to have again some common connection, so that I feel like again I am not going to know every book that they're picking for a choice read, so that we can still have again this common thread to come back to. And then again, I'm picturing more in their small groups and then their lit circles. That's when they're making the connections between this is what we're reading in the class, here's how it connects to my book.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and we definitely had to like pull on text that they all had read together. That's why I felt that first week was important to actually like have some shared text. And they pulled in a lot because it was second semester. They pulled in a lot of the text from first semester that we could use as examples and stuff like that. So I think it probably would be harder at the beginning of the year because they don't have as many common texts to use as reference. So, right. Any other questions? Okay, so you guys have, like I said, 15 minutes. If you want to get off and work on your own, that's fine. If you want to stay on and ask something or get some support with just us, then we will stay on for the next, 10 minutes. We do have to jump onto our next PDs as well. So, but we'll stay on and help with whatever we can. If you guys want to email me, obviously just type in Faith Hollinger or Katie Harding. Katie has tons of resources for that resource and CT level. She is a great co-teacher. She does everything kind of in sync with me and brings a lot of those resources into the class. So she's great. 5-year relationship here, 5 years, not to be, got to remember that. So again, if you don't need help, go ahead and log off.
I've got everybody down for attendance. So.
Okay, if you don't need help, go ahead and log off because there's some people who get nervous and talking in front of others.
Or you can hang out with us.
Right, right. Or if you, Kristen's like, I'll just hang out. You're...
Thomas, I can email you everything that I have. Is it just T-Mains?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thomas says she has a lot of stuff for the whole curriculum. I don't know if you're teaching, what are you teaching?
Pretty much just American Lit.
Okay. I was gonna say, not as, she taught American Lit, but like at English 1 and English 2, we've made almost, everything almost has an audio with like the reading on the screen and stuff. So she really, I mean, Katie goes above and beyond, and we have a lot of resources.
Yeah, our English 2 CT is brand new this year, so I can share that with her if you wouldn't mind sending it over.
Yeah, I can just put it, and honestly, the stuff that I have modified, you can just take out the English 1 component and throw in the American Lit stuff. So
Sure.
a lot
Yeah,
of
we
it
do
is-
use stuff level to level. If it's skill based, like it's not hard to
Are you
modify.
the resource teacher or are you the gen ed teacher?
Resource
Resource, okay.
and CT, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I can just kind of do that. And usually with like, because you only ever have to do this once, but with like anytime we have a smaller text, so I guess for American Lit, it would be, oh gosh, it's been 2 years since I've been in that class, but a short story, I would read it once on like Screencastify or Loom or whatever. And then it's saved forever. And then anytime that a kid needs it. I also read all of my tests before that are on those
Yeah,
things.
nice.
So that kids follow that, so that if they don't want to leave the class for a separate setting, they can still get it read to them if they want it. But
Yeah, yeah, I'm working on that for this year too.
yeah, it's definitely
Once you get it done, it's
Yeah,
great. Once
once
you
it's
get
done,
everything
it's
done, like, I mean,
getting it done.
and we're
sucks,
at the
but-
point where since we've been working together for a few years, like we have a lot of like that done. So if we have something new, Katie's like, oh, it's just one thing. So like once you have it
Yeah.
all, you know,
but yeah,
it's-
I will do
yeah. Fun fact, Katie cannot write with blue pens. She doesn't like blue pens. She yelled at me for making notes in blue pen.
I don't really like blue pens either, so.
Hey,
a pen.
I thought like blue is like a universally favorite color. I'm like,
Yeah.
I grab whatever pen is around me. I can't do pencils though. I cannot write with pencils.
So I'll email you sometime in the next week, just stuff that.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
I'm gonna read. Did you get everyone's comments from me? Okay. All right. Yeah. Thanks, guys. I feel like Brandon's
Brandon, are you just like not paying
Right.
attention, or are you just really like hanging out with us?
right. Well, unmute him and then we'll. He's totally just not paying attention. That's funny.
Guys, I'm just so engaged. I'm not gonna leave. I'm gonna be the
You
last
just
person
want to
in.
be here with us.
I wasn't up and like hanging decorations or anything.
I was like, I feel like you just.
listening.
I
ran
mean,
from the other side of the
really,
room.
like you could have been and like just listen to us. I mean,
I was. You're up on my smart board.
oh,
You guys did
oh,
a great job. Bye.
Don't do that. Don't put us on big screen. I'm uncomfortable.
I like small fuzzy screens, not
Okay.
the large clear ones. Brandon left. Okay, bye.
I'll go end meeting for all.